Hello, my dear friends, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome to the show, East-West Show. Jack Chow's hosting with lots of pride for years. Every now and then, we try to bring information update to you to get you informed about how California is doing. As Californians, we care about California. That's not a question, okay? It all depends how much we understand what's going on. To be a reminder to you, I would like to bring it once again to your attention that the AB 109 of California law, that was imposed the year of 2011, followed by Proposition 47, Proposition 57, which are on the same route of pushing prisoners out of the jail early, called it early release, in the realignment of what they call the jail realignment program thing. Right. Ever since, California crime rate has been increasing, and it's increasing until till moment starting year 2015 and 2016. We see 2 years of a substantial increase, surprising increase in crime rate, until recently, about 3 weeks ago, a waiter officer was killed, all right, and by somebody who was early released, who had been in and out of prison for 5 times during the previous 2 months. That's a reminder, that's a wake-up call. So today, in talking about the wake-up call, joining me is my good friend, my dear brother, Joe Gardner, a former police officer of Santa Monica PD for 27 glorious years. Yeah. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Very good. And Joe, you know what? I'm so thankful to you this many years after retiring from the law enforcement. Number one, you're still working, you keep yourself busy on other programs that helps aiding the community. Okay. But also, you still think like an law enforcement officer. And you still care about the public safety. Yes. You care about the community safety. And thank you for having brought this matter for so many times to the attention of my audiences. So basically, like I said, we, of course, care about California. For us to care about California, we better know what's going on.
Right.
Those substantial stuff, those serious stuff, especially those devastating stuff, such as crime rate increase. Can you give us an overall picture about California crime rate in normal years, recent years, and even last year? And about generally how bad it looks, please.
Yes, well, recently the FBI released its preliminary crime report for 2016, and what they do is they take the statistics nationwide, and they compile them for 6 months, the 6 months of the year. And they found out that in 2/3 of the largest cities, those are cities over 100,000 people, the crime rate has gone up significantly. And so if you take the data that the FBI provided and you go to the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation, it discovered that 46 of the largest cities in California had a substantial increase of crime. And within those 46 cities, some of them 50% increase in crime. So it's very startling to see crime go up in that manner. For example, if you look at the city of Los Angeles, crime went up 16.8%. And that's a big jump.
That's a lot.
Those are violent crimes, rapes, murders, assaults. So it's something that we all should be concerned about.
And I also like to do a little insertion to make sure my audience understand what's exactly going on, what causes the what's exactly going on. Back in 2010, the Supreme Court of the United States found out that we, California, are in violation of jail overcrowdedness by a number of 13%. And for that, the Supreme Court order was written that we have to do something. Number one, we could build up more jails to house them. Number two, we have to reduce the number of the incarceration to make sure it not go over to 113%. Now, California obviously adopted the latter. So instead of building up jails, they early release the criminals. All right. To legitimize the early release, they made laws. The law called AB 109, the Assembly Bill 109, that becomes into law, became into law, that makes the early release legitimate.
Right.
So with that, they worked out and California passed a Proposition 47 in order to legitimize the legitification of the early release. They raised the threshold of criminality determination.
Right.
For example, if you steal $450 worth of stuff, right?
Right.
I'm just trying to make sure that I understand it right. Because my audience, I believe, if they hear this for the first time, though, they don't know what's going on, right? If you steal $450 worth of stuff and you're in jail, if you do below 450, you're okay, and you are a misdemeanor.
Correct.
Okay, you stay in police department, PD for whatever few hours, and you're released with a record. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, in order, like I said, to legitimize the legitification of the early release, they further increased the threshold to $950.
I believe that.
Now, am I right with the numbers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Now you're okay if you steal $948, $49. So you're not over the board. So. And the Proposition 57 made it even worse and legitifies the former two. And on, we're heading south. Step by step, we are heading south to a point that we have the. Joe, do me a favor, please. I know that you know this number by heart, right? I want you to read from letter to letter, A to Z, please. My audience deserves that whole thing.
Okay.
Please.
And this is an item that was posted by Michael Rushford at the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation. So FBI report.
Take your time.
Sure.
Take your time. I have time. My audience have time. If today we can't cover it, we do it tomorrow.
Very good.
And then another day.
Absolutely.
At any cost. Go ahead, do it, please.
So the FBI report says violent crime last year in California cities went up. The FBI preliminary crime report for 2016 indicates that violent crime increased in 2/3 of California's largest cities, and the report tracks the crimes committed during
large cities, the definition being population over 100,000.
Right.
Such as West Covina.
Yeah, West
right?
Covina would be one of those.
Such as Pasadena.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
And so the data analysis by the Criminal Justice Foundation found that of the 69 cities that were listed in their report, 46 had increased in violent crime last year. Some cities saw as much as more than 50% increase in crime.
More than 50%. Okay,
Right.
All right, good. Okay, go ahead.
And that included murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. And as we said before, in Los Angeles, violent crime rose 16.8%.
There's a big rise.
Right,
yeah.
in comparison to 2015
Of
numbers.
course, and comparing the location of the city,
Right.
being the capital of the city, of the whole area.
Mm-hmm. Huge geographic area.
Huge geographic area. Oh my God, go ahead.
Now, if you look at some of the cities that had the largest crime increases, that included Moreno Valley, plus 66.3%.
66.3%.
Right.
That's a crime town already.
Yeah, it's huge.
All
Very
right.
disturbing. Burbank had plus 50.7%.
Oh God.
And in
Burbank,
Fremont,
57%.
right.
And up.
It's a big city next to city of LA.
Yes.
Fremont plus 41.6%.
Oh
and
God.
El Cajon in San Diego County, that's plus 27.8%.
El Cajon, okay.
Santa Maria up north plus 26.1%. And in Rialto, not too far from here in San Bernardino County, plus 22.7%. And Riverside, again, plus 22.5%. And in Pasadena, just down the street from us off the freeway, plus 18.1%. So very substantial increases in crime there. And the largest increases in murder were reported in San Jose, and that's plus 127%.
What is that? Say it again.
127% in San Jose.
Oh my God. 127% in San Jose. I'm speechless.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
astounding.
go ahead, go ahead.
Huge numbers. Santa Ana in Orange County, and that's plus 116.6%. Very large numbers. And as we know, Santa Ana has been in the news pretty frequently in the last couple
of course,
months.
Yeah,
San Bernardino County, or the city of San Bernardino, plus 100%. In San Diego, plus 41.1%. And in Berkeley, plus 35%. Rapes increased in many cities, including Corona, and that's up plus 166%. And that's rapes.
Corona right there.
Right.
Next door to us.
Right, off the 91. Fremont, plus 73.6%, and Fairfield, I think, is up north, 70.5%. And in Elk Grove, middle of the state, plus 68.4%. So substantial increases for a lot of cities.
My dear audience, my dear Lord, and the numbers are so substantial that I feel kind of like a kind of goosebump here. And my dear audience, today we're talking about the crime increase in Southern California. In California, I would say, due to the early release program, due to our law, our misguiding law, misleading law, misjudging law, whatever law of AB 109 and the Proposition 47 and 57, and we're now seeing the consequences. We are now paying the price, and it's a high price. With me today is my good friend, Joe Gardner. He is a former police officer of Santa Monica PD of 27 glorious years. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll keep finding out. Stay with us, please. Hello, my dear audience. Welcome back to this serious discussion about serious California. We are facing a devastating time that our crime rate has increased substantially. Take city of Pasadena, for example, it is increase of 18+%. Take city El Cajon, for example, it is 27.8%. And I have better story for you. And take Corona, for example, it is 166%. Can you believe it? If it's not written in black and white, I would not even believe there's a 166%. There are cities of San Bernardino, for example, that's increased the crime rate of 100%. So, what else do you want to say? We taxpayers never reduce our tax by 50%, right?
Right.
We never reduce our tax obligation for 166%. We never do that. Why did they reduce the work for that much percent? This is unfair to us. Joining me is my friend, Mr. Joe Gardner, a former LAPD officer, Santa Monica. I keep sending you to LAPD because they need you.
Have a lot of fun.
Santa Monica PD officer for 27 glorious years. He's sharing those numbers and the devastating fact with me and with us to see what we want to do. I want to make a wake-up call, and I want to make a wake-up call again and again and over again until whole California is awakened to voice out, to tell them, knock on the door, say, hey, you guys are doing wrong. We need more protection. At least we need the same protection, if not more, okay? All right, go ahead. Finish what you haven't finished by reading the statistics.
And you know, Jack, you're doing a great service for the community.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm part of it.
Yeah, your audience is indebted to you for the work that you do.
Thank you. I'm happy to be a part of it.
You know, as you now continue to read this, the data indicates that in many parts of California, 2016 was another year of major increases in violent crime. And that was said by California Justice Legal Foundation President Michael Rushford. While some academics and politicians will be unable to identify the cause, working Americans, working Californians, and middle-class Californians all know that we live in communities that have thousands of habitual criminals in their midst.
Habitual criminals.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And they have been released by the governor's realignment law and put on our streets. And with Prop 47 compounding the problem, we have even more criminals on our streets. Mm-hmm. So we know the middle class and working Americans, Californians understand very clearly that this is a real big problem. They've changed the way they live. They've become more conscious about crime. They look over their shoulder. That's not a very good way to live in our communities.
All right, okay. And we're talking about responsibilities. We want to hold our legislator, and including our governor, accountable for that, because we, the people, we, the taxpayers, are not supposed to pay that much a higher price. And we're paying sometimes in some cities 166% of a price, right, than we normally pay. In regular cities, we're talking about, such as San Bernardino, we're talking about twice that we pay because the crime rate has increased 100% in that lovely city. So that is really something that calls the attention. You may think that you live in a very peaceful, nice environment. Well, according to this, not necessarily, right? You're just taking a chance. Okay, good. Joe, I have kind of a resentment, some kind of resentment increasing here also, that it's not fair, it's not a justice here. Okay, now, logic. The government has its own complaint. Say, hey, okay, the crime rate increased and we have limited resources, we have limited jails, number of jails. So, the only thing, and now we have the Supreme Court order, we have to release, now release. Okay. Right. Am I right if I say, I don't care, okay? As long as I pay tax, I deserve protection. Go back to do your job. As whatever you do your job, not my cup of tea. Am I right? Am I being a responsible citizen saying so?
No, you are right, Jack. We have an absolute right to expect that our government it's a fundamental law, it's in the Constitution, that they should protect our communities. That's their number one obligation, to make sure of the safety of its people. So I think the government, especially in California, has done a great disservice to us. Instead of saying, you know what, we have not enough prisons in the state system, we should maybe build some more to accommodate the increase in crime,
that's the right way
the
to do,
increase
right?
in criminals. Don't release them down to the county jails for release. Let's really think about putting people who haven't taken responsibility for breaking the law, are not accountable. Let's put them back in prison. But while they're there, let's do something productive with them. Let's help them rehabilitate, truly rehabilitate, So when they come out, they won't
It is
be a
very
burden.
important to mention the term, the habitual criminals.
Correct.
Right? And you have to recognize the reality. The reality is that you have such XYZ number of the habitual criminals. You have to provide a place to keep them incarcerated,
Right. We have
so
an
that we
obligation.
are not affected.
Yeah, we have an obligation to keep them away from our communities.
It is their
Our
obligation. It is not our obligation.
Right.
Taxpayers pay money.
Yeah,
right?
we are the
Here's the
government.
money. Go do your job. That's
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Right?
You are
So,
correct.
Okay. How are we going to do to hold them responsible? They kind of like they're kind of playing like they're innocent, right?
Right.
As a matter of fact, they're not innocent.
No, they're not. And you know, I think it's just within Sacramento, and you hear this frequently, there are politicians that are there who have lost touch with their constituents. They don't understand that they have to serve us. They seemingly will work in the interest of many others, maybe others that are more affluent than the average middle American,
You're right.
the Californian. I think they have realized or not realized how important it is to protect our communities and do the right thing. So I think I don't believe they're going to change, honestly, Jack. I think many of our politicians
Oust them.
Oust them. It's
Oust
time to
them.
vote them out.
Yeah.
Time to
Remove them.
Put some people up there that are actually going
Yes,
to
of
do the
course.
work of the people, because they're not going to get it now.
Okay, now, Joe, understand me right, okay? I'm not a hot-tempered person. I am very, very mild, okay?
Yes, you are.
Okay. And sometimes even I argue over political issues with my friend in a debate, though. I always declare in advance, say that we are friends. We will be friends before and after this debate, no matter how seriously we're debating. Okay, those are over average political matters. Right. All right. Some say we should go right. Some say we should go left. No problem. Going right, going left, all politics. Right. And I'm in the middle as a taxpayer. I'm happy they're busy. That's it. Okay. Now you're talking about life and death. It is the moment they get excited, right? It is the moment you use some temper, man. You use some temper, my dear audiences. We need it here. So your temper might help because you're talking about your own city, like San Bernardino, right next door to us, with an increase of 100% of the crime rate. That's even unthinkable.
It is.
Not even, well, not to the least of the sense, right? By logic, we're supposed to be protected, and yet we are not, and obviously we have a problem.
This is
and the problem is the big.
Yeah, Jack. This is no time for partisanship.
No,
It's not left or right politics anymore.
No.
It's about common sense. It's about doing the fundamental thing that you're required to do as a government, and that's to protect its people. So I think no matter what side of the aisle you sit up in the state capitol, you have to come together and say, look, we need to solve this problem. We can't let it continue anymore. And so, you know, many like you and I are very frustrated with how government reacts to some of these issues, or more importantly, how they don't react to some of these issues. They see this.
More cases the latter.
It's been going on for quite a while, and they still don't recognize how important it is to fix it.
Okay, now, there is a law that you are a criminal of doing something. There should be another law. You are also a criminal not doing something.
Right.
Do you see my point? Okay, you are doing nothing costs us a high price. Sometimes a life to pay. For example, the fallen officer of Wheater is one of the prices we pay.
Yes.
And he was claimed to be the best among the best.
Yeah.
I saw it on TV, the funeral, and lots of people, they feel sad about it. Yes. Okay, now, my dear audience, today with my friend Joe Gardner, I'm having a moment of excitement. I will call resentment, because I really feel the unfairness here that we taxpayer, for example, myself, and I pay down to the penny, right? So we are not protected. we get scared by seeing the number increase like that. An increase of 166.8%? Oh, you better be joking. Come on, you better be joking, all right? So with my friend, Joe Gardner, we're sharing the facts. And the facts, the numbers you will see on the screen, those are enough to be wake-up calls. We need to put our voices together, to put our efforts together, to knock the door. If the door is not working, knock on their head. Say, hey, wake up, sir. Wake up, whatever, ladies and gentlemen. We got a job to do. So stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, dear folks, my dear friends, my dear ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Californians. We are talking about California for sure. We know that we all love California, but you got to understand what's going on with California before you can say, I love California. All right, now in California, crime rates are skyrocketing. I'm not saying increase, I'm saying skyrocketing due to the misleading laws and misleading propositions later become into laws, okay, such as AB 109 of the early release of prisoners in the jail realignment program, and also the Proposition 47 and Proposition 57. They are together in joint force, made our street full of criminals, full of the habitual criminals who are supposed to be incarcerated rather than on the street. With me, my good friend Joe Gardner, who since retirement never stopped a moment to take a break. And he, for better, still thinks like a police officer should, right? He kind of made the voice, he kind of made a proposal that we should get together some voices and send it to Sacramento to knock on the doors, knock on the forehead of those who make laws, say you made the wrong laws, you got to take it back. You got to be responsible for that. Okay, now, Mr. Joe Gardner has served for in Santa Monica PD office for 27 glorious years. So once again, with my respect, lots of respect, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
Let's give a little analysis of the criminal, of the suspect. I know he's convicted. He has to be convicted, right? Mm-hmm. The suspect who killed the waiter officer, knowing his background, would bring a clearer picture to our audiences how and by whatever reason this guy should be released on the street. Go ahead, please.
Well, the alleged murderer, and I won't even utter his name. In fact, I'm not even sure I have his name correct. Because
no, he deserves it. He doesn't deserve it.
It's not really relevant, but you know, we should all remember Whittier Officer Boyer, who was killed in the line of duty, just doing his job. He had no expectation that something.
And Boyer was the best among the best.
He was, and his poor partner was shot as well at that scene. And you know, we've seen 3 other police officers shot and killed in California. You had the 2 Palm Springs police officers, and you had the Sheriff's Department sergeant who was murdered up in Palmdale. These are horrible crimes, but in particular, the alleged murder of Officer Boyer was recently released. It probably been out for a few weeks after he was flash incarcerated, and that means he came to the attention of law enforcement. He was taken into custody. I think for this particular case, it was illegal drugs. They had decided to keep him for a short period. I think it was 5 days, and then they decided to release him because they didn't pursue the prosecution, or, you know, he had committed other crimes as well while he was out on bail. And so it's a tragic case, a tragic example of how the California criminal justice system needs to be reformed so that we can really keep these habitual criminals off the street so they don't commit horrendous crimes like the murder.
I heard it is on record that this guy, this to be convicted murderer of the We丨officer, has been in and out of jail for 5 times for within only 2 months. Was that a truth or false?
Yeah, that's what I recall reading as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last time you and I were here discussing, you mentioned about the flash incarceration.
Right.
So they just flash it. And
which is temporarily holding.
Which is temporarily holding them for 3-5 days and release.
Right.
And that's why this murderer been in and out for 5 times, right?
Yeah.
Out of jail. And also last time you mentioned about the fact that when they take consideration, they consider only less offense.
Correct. They don't look at the whole criminal history of that particular individual.
For example, I robbed a bank and another bank and robbed a grocery store, and I dealt with drugs, and then this time you called me for a shoplifting, right? And then you look back, you only looked into the last one that I dealt with a bag of drugs.
Correct.
That's it.
That's it.
And for which I was incarcerated. No, not incarcerated. I was taken in for only 3 days and released.
Right.
Right? That's Jack Chow. That's it.
Right.
For the robbing bank, the things you do not even consult as reference. So.
Right. I remember for one of the propositions or something that was an advertisement, I talked about the poor guy who stole a slice of pizza, right? And that he was going to spend all this time in jail, but they don't discuss all the other part of his history, very violent felony crimes that he had committed in the past that would disturb and concern any citizen, anybody else, to say, but we only looked at that
pizza.
Right.
Which is slice of pizza.
Yeah, okay. So very minor crime, but they don't recognize that there is a more serious individual.
I believe 57 has way to do with it.
All right.
That's one of the content of 57. Okay. Right. So, my dear audience, California is really, really at risk. So yes. We're talking about your life, my son's, my whoever. All right. So it could be anybody. The officer could be anybody. A fallen officer could be anybody. Could be a fallen citizen.
Right.
All right. So, any resolution? Now, okay. Before we touch any resolution, now I have an idea. In the country, in the law system, whereby Li Baka was convicted for what he has done. Obviously, he made wrong decisions. He made wrong plans. The scheme was wrong. So. Everything, and then lots of officers went to jail for that, right. Including his deputy,
second in command.
Yeah, second commander, right? Okay. Now we convict him, and he was convicted, right? Deadlock, convicted. So now we're talking about a wrong decision, wrong making, wrong going that causes the consequences, which Californians pay, which Los Angeles Angelinos pay. Now we're talking about the same thing. Right? Are we holding somebody responsible for giving birth to the crazy laws that starts with the consequences that make us pay the higher prices? Exactly like what Li Baka did and made people pay crap prices. Same thing. Right. So are we not holding somebody responsible and knock somebody on the bench and see somebody goes to jail?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that's taking place with our politicians. Our people.
It should take place.
It should. They should take responsibility for the things they do that create problems like we're talking about today. But the people have a remedy for that. They can vote them out of office, as we discussed earlier. You can get rid of them and find other people that will do the right thing. But I think immediately, as citizens, we should be calling our legislators, maybe calling the governor and telling them, look, you got to fix this problem. Build a prison.
Why don't you do a kind of a signature campaign?
Well, we're hoping. That's I'm eager to find anyone who is interested, and if you're out there sitting there in Jack's
Do you
audience,
have a signature campaign already?
well, we're working on that.
You're working on it, right?
I really think that we need to do.
Once you're done, bring it here.
Yes.
And let's see if our audience would sign their names on.
Oh, that would be great.
Right? That will be, well, because my audience love this show. They love, literally they love me, right? So thank you for loving me, by the way, Mike. Okay, so let's do it. This is the most writer's cause.
It is.
Right? Most writers cause. Because we are trying not to protect anybody. We're trying to protect ourselves.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So, my dear audience, today, once again, we're talking about the consequences of the crazy law of AB 109, Proposition 47 and Proposition 57, which together made California a state of criminalities. When I say that, and say among 68 of the large cities that has a population of over 100,000, 46 were found with a substantial skyrocketing criminal increase, right? And the sum of the increase even went to 166%. You're not talking about 16%, you're talking about 166%. Today with me, my good friend Joe Gardner is sharing his thoughts about the facts, also about he thinks what we can do by calling our legislators, calling governor's office to let them know we don't like them, their decisions. In the meantime, there is being prepared, as we speak, a signature campaign to oust them, to make them at least to change the laws, okay? So let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll find out. Before that happens, is there anything else we can do? We call it a solution or resolution or whoever or whatever. We need something. Stay with us, please. Hello, dear folks, my dear fellow Angelinos, fellow Californians. Welcome back to this show talking about California being devastatingly attacked by the consequences of AB 109, the crazy law, and the Proposition 47 and Proposition 57. Together, the three called for early jail release program, called the realignment, quote unquote, whatever, that brings lots of criminals on the street. They are called habitual criminals, which means that they have a habit of committing crimes. Okay. Now, so for us, community members, taxpayers as well, most importantly, we pay tax. We pay tax, we hire them to protect us. Right?
Yes.
Obviously, we're not protected. Yeah. Those who are not protected, including the fallen officer of Tier 2, he himself was not even protected.
Right.
Right? That's unfair. Right? And with me, my good friend Joe Gardner, a former Santa Monica PD officer for 27 glorious years with lots of medals, is sharing his thoughts with us, and he's working on a program to, number one, call people as a wake-up call to see how serious the Californian problem is. Number two, to see if anybody has to be responsible. We can hold anybody responsible for that. And number three, there's going to be a signature campaign, right, to oust some of them, and to see if laws can be rewritten. Right, good. Before all these, right, anything you think of, last time you talked about recommended resolution, can we share with you for one more time, please?
Well, you have to start with one premise, that the criminal justice system in California is broken. it needs to be fixed, and that takes in a lot of different systems, like the criminal court system, all the way down through the state prison and county jail system. There are clearly needs for reform and changes. So each person who comes to the attention of law enforcement, who breaks the law, needs to pay for their crimes. It's very basic. We all understand that.
Of course,
we lived in a time many years ago where we used to be able to trust in that if somebody committed the crime, they would take responsibility. But currently, because the courts are underfunded, they've closed courthouses. West Covina courthouses hardly does anything now, other than in maybe a few cases.
Maybe a traffic ticket.
Right, but it used to be, in the heyday, it used to be very busy, and it was a criminal court and an area, this served this area very well. But because of the lack of funding, the court has now suffered. And many of the courthouses are in decay. You don't have enough judges. There's a lot of temporary judges. So I think, the county and the state needs to recognize they have to start funding those courts, and so that they can handle the caseload, and they already have a huge caseload. If you're going to do any reform project, in other words, holding prisoners responsible, that caseload is going to increase. So we should have a court system that can handle that. The state prison system, we only have 34 prisons with 117,000 inmates. There's not enough space for those prisoners. So in many years and perhaps a few decades, we haven't built a prison. We still have the same number of prisons, but the prison population has grown. Hence the reason why they created AB 109, where they start releasing them to
And by the way, a
county.
little insertion.
Right.
Okay. When a society develops, it develops all the way, all together, by the same ratio. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. You're talking about productivity increase, you're talking about population increase, housing increase, toilet increase, gutter increase, everything.
Right.
And criminality increases too. And then jails got increased at the same time. Right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to hold nowadays prisoners with the original 34 prison.
No, you need a lot more prisons, a
Things
lot
need
more
to be done.
space.
Things need to be done.
And
long
the
time
average
ago.
person may not understand that. And we're a compassionate society. We don't want to see people put in prisons, as I call warehousing, keeping people in prisons unnecessarily. I think prisons used to be about rehabilitation. I don't know if we do that much anymore. Prisoners are not getting treated, really treated as they should for mental illness, for substance abuse. There's no vocational training to really speak of, where every prisoner has maybe an opportunity to get a job when they leave prison. So when I'm saying build more prisons, I'm also taking into account that we have to make sure those prisoners don't come back again to the prison system. That if they leave after they serve their sentences, they don't recidivate. They don't return back to the system. And they don't create problems for our communities. They don't kill police officers or citizens, or attack our most vulnerable people, our women and children. So I think we need to do a lot of work.
For the past, like say, 5, 6, or even 7 years, I heard a term about paying 10% of jail time.
Right. Well, you get early release.
Early release.
At the county level.
That was even before the early release program. Right.
That's a really disturbing part.
That's really disturbing.
Right.
And for a 6 month, you stay what? For 10 months, you stay 1 month.
Right.
Something like that.
That is not accountability.
That's not accountability.
That's not taking responsibility for your crime.
And a court system is kind of like a system that does the equation.
Right.
So much you have committed, so much is the punishment, and they become an equation. Okay, here goes the equation, go serve your time.
Right.
Now, when you come back, say, I served the 10% of my time, and the equation is broken.
Right.
The equation refers to justice. to be refers to be fairness.
Right.
All right. So that's unfair.
And,
so
those are the things that are missing. You don't have people out on the street, these habitual criminals, who recognize with impunity they can go out and commit more crimes because the system won't do anything to them. They'll go in for a short time. They might get this flash incarceration where they'll be held for a certain period of time and then just simply released again on a citation or, to report to a court hearing down the road. But there again, they go out and commit more crimes. So we have to be committed as a society to keep people in custody who are doing wrong.
Laws are only laws when they deter people.
Right.
Am I right?
When they respect the law.
And so that we respect. Right. The way to deter, to let them see the consequences. They will be scared away. Oh my God, that is the consequences? Okay, no, I don't do it. Right. Like that. And that is how law functions in the system, because it deters criminalities.
That's
right. Now, when you see a deduction of the way down to 10% all the way, and that is encouragement to me.
It is. You're encouraging them.
Yeah, you're
giving them license to go out and commit more crime.
All right, because you see, oh my God, that's all I get? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So when the law loses its function of deterring, you're in serious trouble.
Right.
And then you have the AB 109, you have the Proposition 47, you have the Proposition 57 together. They further release the originally incarcerated bad guys, serious bad guys, onto the street.
Yeah, it's a cascading effect from down from the state system, prison system, all the way down to the county jails and even to the local jails. Nobody is really held accountable any longer because they just get released on tickets.
It's almost to me undercurrent that goes along with the subcurrent.
Yeah.
And then when we realize this is so big already, right?
Right.
Okay, very good. So last time you mentioned about, in spite of the fact that California has 34 state jails, there are some local jails that could be motivated.
Yes.
So it sounds like something very interesting.
Well, right. In keeping with the thought of people taking responsibility for their crimes, even the low-level nuisance misdemeanor crimes that happen, that create livability issues in our communities, you even have to hold those people responsible. And as we talked before in a previous show, we talked about using our county jail, our city jails, as a way to keep those people incarcerated for that time.
But county jails are already full, overflowing.
Right, but you have city jails who are, many of them are virtually empty. They don't keep people very long. Some of them by necessity don't have the titling or the requirement to house anybody over a certain period. But there are other jails that have cells that have been sitting gathering dust that could be used to house people who commit low-level crimes in the cities they commit those crimes. So I think there's an opportunity there. With that, you can bring social service people. Fundamentally, if a person who commits all the nuisance crimes comes into a city jail, you could have an alcohol rehabilitation representative come into the clinic and sign them up for services.
Or somebody hitting his wife, or something like that.
Mental health treatment. You could have people come there and really work on trying to get some of these people who commit low-level crimes into the continuum of care so that they don't go back out in the street.
That could be something, a bill.
Right, it could be.
Why? When they can create a bill such as to make the third bathroom available,
right?
Why can't we create a bill to fully use the city jails, municipal jails?
Absolutely.
Right? So that we can still do the job.
Right. Take over the overcrowding from the county jail. No one should be able to walk away.
Has anybody done any calculation about the vacancies of the community jails and putting a number, putting the numbers together, if the number matches already released?
I don't know if there has been. I would like to find out about that. For example, one jail that I know of, and I won't give the name, but it has 92 cells in the jail, but they only use maybe 10 or 15 cells at any given time.
All right,
So you have all this space, you know, that is going vacant that could be used to house low-level misdemeanor offenders.
Okay, very good. Okay, this could be a bill. Right?
Could be.
And we probably want to voice out, ask them to push them to make a bill, right?
Yeah.
All right, they make bills, they make laws of all kinds. Make laws to protect little fish of this big, called smelt.
Yeah, Delta smelt.
Delta smelt. And they make bills of laws to do anything but this. Okay, this is important. This is our life we're talking about. My dear audience, today, once again, we're talking about the consequences, the high price we're paying. We are paying high price, right? As the consequences of the early release of criminals onto the street. And we're not doing this only one, and there could be more, and we're still ranging more to discuss until full California is a weekend. Together we make some issue very vocal, and you can write and call your legislator, and you can write and call your governor, and you can later, when they work out the signature campaign, you can join the crowd. Say, with my friend Joe Gunner, a former Santa Monica PD officer of 27 glorious years. With all my respect, I thank you very much for coming here for the show to share, and prepare yourself for next one, and we'll do it over and over again. Please, now, my dear audience, thank you for watching, and see you next time.